Have you ever stopped to realize how much of your attention has been stolen? We live in an age where the mind barely rests for a single moment. The instant most people wake up, the very first thing they do is reach for their phone. Notifications light up the screen, messages pile up, and endless social media feeds scream for attention. The brain, still half asleep, is already thrown into alert mode before the day even begins. And here's the alarming truth. According to a well-known Microsoft study, the average human attention span has dropped from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to just 8 seconds in 2015. That's shorter than the attention span of a goldfish. A creature that spends its life swimming in circles can now stay focused longer than we can. But this isn't just some quirky statistic. It has a direct impact on how we work, how we learn, and even how we connect with others. The American Psychological Association has reported that so-called digital multitasking can reduce productivity by up to 40%. In other words, every time you try to juggle multiple things, replying to texts during a Zoom call, scrolling TikTok while reading an article, your brain pays the price. Your focus splinters, your energy drains, and what should have taken minutes stretches into hours. Eastern philosophy has a phrase for this restless state: the monkey mind. A mind that leaps from branch to branch, never finding stillness. It's a perfect picture of our reality today, bouncing from one notification to the next, one short video to another, until at the end of the day we barely remember what we actually did. But what if I told you that on the other side of the world, in quiet monasteries high in the mountains of Tibet, there exists an ancient practice that teaches the exact opposite? While we struggle against constant distraction, Tibetan monks train their focus the way a warrior sharpens a blade, turning the mind into something steady, sharp, and unshakable. This contrast raises an urgent question. Is it still possible to reclaim deep concentration in the middle of our noisy digital lives? Could wisdom preserved for centuries by these monks help us undo the damage of constant overstimulation? The answer, as you'll soon see, is yes. And it's not about magic or mystery. It's about discipline, repetition, and presence. A method tested by tradition and now validated by modern science. But before we go deeper, I want you to pause and reflect. How many times just today have you tried to focus only to be pulled away by distractions? How many times have you grabbed your phone just to check a message and ended up scrolling for 20 minutes straight? None of this is accidental. These platforms are designed to hijack your attention, pulling the same levers in your brain that control addiction. Centuries ago, the philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Now imagine what he would say today, seeing billions of people unable to sit still for even a few minutes without unlocking a screen. This is where our journey begins. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore the Tibetan monk's secret method to train the brain for total concentration. We'll uncover how simple techniques of breathing, repetition, and presence can transform your mind into a precise instrument, one that cuts through the noise of the modern world without getting lost in it. And if this message resonates with you, if you believe attention is one of the most precious things we can reclaim, I have a special invitation. Consider becoming a channel member. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content like this, combining philosophy, science, and ancient wisdom for today's challenges. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and come with me. What these monks discovered might just be the key to transforming not only your focus, but your entire life. When most people think about concentration, they picture a battle with the mind, as if the only way to focus is to force the brain into submission, like trying to tame a wild horse by sheer strength. But for Tibetan monks, the approach is completely different. The mind isn't a battlefield, it's a garden. If you don't cultivate it, weeds will grow on their own. If you care for it daily, flowers and fruit will appear. Their way of cultivation rests on three fundamental pillars: conscious breathing, disciplined repetition, and absolute presence. The first pillar is conscious breathing. In practices such as anapanasati, mindful attention on the breath, each inhale is seen as renewal and each exhale as a cleansing. By training the mind to always return to the breath, monks anchor themselves in the present, and modern science supports this. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have found that deep breathing exercises can reduce cortisol levels, the stress hormone, by up to 40% and improve mental clarity under pressure. The second pillar is disciplined repetition. Mantras, prayers, walking meditation, simple but consistent rituals. The power isn't in one isolated act of focus, but in the rhythm of daily practice that slowly rewires the brain. Neuroscientists at the University of Wisconsin observed that Tibetan monks in deep meditation showed extremely elevated gamma brainwaves, the kind linked to focus, creativity, and heightened awareness. These weren't random spikes. They were the result of years, even decades of repetitive practice. The third pillar is absolute presence. For monks, there is no task too small for total attention. Pouring tea, walking, cleaning a floor, every action is carried out as if it was sacred. This echoes the wisdom of the Japanese Zen master Dogen, who said in the 13th century, "When you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat." It sounds simple, but in our world we eat while scrolling, walk while texting, and work with dozens of tabs open. The result? A fractured mind. And here lies the conflict. Monks train in silence, while we live in constant noise. Social media and apps weren't designed to serve us. They were designed to capture us. The science of captology, persuasive technology, is the backbone of everything from infinite scroll to the addictive red notification badge. They don't just ask for your attention, they engineer your brain's dopamine system to crave it. A study from the University of California, Irvine, revealed something staggering. After a simple interruption, like checking a notification, it takes the brain, on average, 23 minutes to fully regain deep focus. Think about how many times you get interrupted in a single day. Now multiply that by 23. The math explains why so many of us feel exhausted yet unproductive. But here's the key. You don't need to escape to the Himalayas to reclaim your attention. The monk's lesson is that mental training doesn't happen away from noise, but within it. Just as a warrior doesn't train only in times of peace, but prepares in the middle of battle, we must train our focus in the environment we actually live in. And the training can begin with small, practical steps before starting a major task. Close your eyes and take 3 minutes of deep breathing. Treat turning off notifications as a sacred ritual, a modern mantra of attention. Use short cycles of complete immersion, like a modified Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes of deep work, followed by 5 minutes of mindful rest. Each of these actions is like planting seeds in the garden of your mind. Over time, they take root, creating resilience against the flood of distractions the digital world pours on us. What's most fascinating is that applying these ancient principles doesn't just help you focus, it literally reshapes your brain. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections, ensures that every small act of conscious focus strengthens the circuits of attention and self-control. If in the previous chapter we saw the scale of the problem, the collapse of attention in the digital age, here we've begun to uncover the solution. The monk's method isn't mystical or out of reach. It's practical, scientifically supported, and above all, adaptable to modern life. And this brings us to the final reflection we'll explore next: how to turn this wisdom into a way of living. Not just as a technique for moments of focus, but as a philosophy woven into daily existence. By now, we've uncovered the scale of the problem, the collapse of human attention, and we've explored the Tibetan monk's method of training the mind. But the real question is, how do we turn this into a way of life, especially in a world filled with noise, screens, and endless demands? The first truth to embrace is this: concentration is not a gift, it's a skill. Just like a musician tunes an instrument or an athlete conditions their body, training the mind takes repetition and patience. And here's the encouraging part: the brain is plastic. Every time you take a conscious breath, every time you complete a ritual of presence, every time you choose to ignore a distraction, you're physically rewiring your brain. Ancient masters knew this intuitively. Lao Tzu once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." Buddha taught, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." Today, neuroscience confirms their wisdom. Our thoughts and practices literally shape the structure of our brains. So how can you live this out in practice? Surrounded by emails, Slack messages, and non-stop notifications? The answer is to create micro-rituals of presence, small acts that transform ordinary moments into opportunities for mastery. Try this simple practice inspired by Tibetan monks. Before starting any important activity, silence your phone and clear your space. Sit upright, close your eyes, and take 3 deep breaths. State your intention clearly, either out loud or in your mind. Then give yourself fully to the task at hand, as if it were the only thing in the universe. This takes only a few minutes, but its power lies in repetition. Practiced daily, it conditions your brain to enter deep focus more quickly and with greater ease. And it's not only monks in remote monasteries who prove the value of this. Modern figures of peak performance lean on similar practices. Steve Jobs, for example, was a Zen Buddhist practitioner and credited meditation for much of his creative clarity. Olympic athletes use breathing and visualization techniques to keep focus under pressure. High-level CEOs block out sacred time each day for deep, undisturbed work. It doesn't matter if you're on a mountain in Tibet or in a crowded city, the principle is the same. Whoever masters their own mind masters their destiny. But it's vital to understand this. Total concentration isn't a destination, it's a journey. Don't expect instant results. There will be days of distraction and setbacks, and that's okay. What matters is the return, coming back again and again, just like the rhythm of the breath. Here's something to reflect on. In the 20th century, the most valuable resource was oil. In the 21st, it's your attention. Companies spend billions to capture it because they know your attention shapes what you buy, what you believe, and ultimately, how you live. Reclaiming control of your own mind isn't just about productivity, it's about freedom. And this is where the monk's greatest lesson shines through. Freedom doesn't come from escaping the world, but from transforming any place into a place of practice. Concentration isn't isolation, it's wholeness in every moment. Whether you're answering an email, cooking dinner, or sitting quietly with a cup of tea. So remember this. The monk's secret isn't about living in the mountains. It's about turning everyday life into meditation. The choice is now in your hands. Each time you decide to focus, to breathe, to be fully present, you're stepping onto that path. A path that doesn't just lead to sharper attention or higher productivity, but to a life that is fuller, calmer, and more authentic.